The National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, just got on Marine One with President Trump, but both of them declined to answer shouted questions about the several National Security Council staffers who were abruptly ousted from their jobs after an Oval Office meeting that President Trump had with the far-right activist Laura Loomer. Yes, she's the person who before has said things like 9/11 was an inside job and other conspiracies that she spread. She's even been denounced by several Republican allies of this White House. But she had a one-on-one Oval Office meeting with President Trump yesterday. We're told that Mike Waltz was in the room for part of that, where she brought the president a list of several people who work in this administration that she argued should be fired because they were not loyal to the president's agenda. Now, we are told by sources that Mike Waltz stood up for his staff in that meeting, but given the fallout from the Signalgate controversy, he has very little standing to try to really protect their jobs. And clearly, Loomer's message got through to the president.
Laura Loomer just influenced President Trump to fire officials within the White House, different deep state officials that have been there for a long time, that for some reason their administration did not catch and just allowed to continue to work in Trump's new administration with all the changes he's trying to make. Laura Loomer is skimming down the White House staff almost as much as I'm finally skimming down that beard I've had for 2 years. Which is scarier? Let me know in the comments. It's Sean Daniel here. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking or subscribing. Let's see what went down. Also today, I am filming from Hiroshima, Japan, in a hostel. That's what we have amazing lighting here for. Sorry, guys.
So Laura Loomer is a very good patriot. She is a very strong person. And I saw her yesterday for a little while. She makes recommendations of things and people. And sometimes I listen to those recommendations like I do with everybody. I listen to everybody and then I make a decision. But I saw her yesterday. She was at the ceremony. And she'll always have something to say, usually very constructive.
What did she recommend?
She recommended certain people for jobs.
Adding to the administration, not
adding.
Who did she
not
recommend?
firing?
Well, she'll recommend that too. But yesterday she recommended some people for jobs.
Did she have anything to do with the NSC aides who were ousted?
No, I don't know.
Do you know how many, sir? Do you know how many from the NSC?
Not many.
Was it 5, a dozen?
I really don't know.
Who does Loomer want?
There were a couple.
Who did Laura recommend hiring?
Well, I don't want to say that, but she's recommended some good people over the years. She's been in the party a long time. She's done a good job.
Do you trust your national security staff is doing what you want them to do?
We've done very well. We've been.
So how on earth did Laura influence the president and bring to light something that would cause him to actually fire some officials within the National Security Council? Let's hear from Laura.
I just think that there needs to be more appreciation demonstrated to Trump loyalists because unfortunately, we do see a lot of gatekeeping in the GOP. And the thing that I harped on the most during the campaign season was, the importance of vetting. We need to vet people so that we don't have the same nightmare that we saw happen in the first administration, where people who are disloyal to President Trump curry favor once the election's over, after shit talking him the entire election season, and then they just get to go, oh, you know what, I'm gonna sneak in and I'm gonna reap all the benefits and the glory and the praise of getting a White House job.
Sure.
I thought that we were keeping a binder full of receipts. I don't know if some of the people on the campaign meant it when they said they were keeping the receipts, but I meant it.
Yeah.
I literally have a binder of receipts, and I know who's loyal and I know who is disloyal.
Now, if you've ever met Laura Loomer, like I have a few times, you see how just serious she is, and she does not mess around. And especially if you've been within the Trump team and some Trump things, you can also see, you wonder who allowed this person to be in charge, or who allowed these people to get higher up rankings within this organization or event. It's weird. So what exactly did she show up with? Let's hear from CNN.
Now, the president told reporters that Laura Loomer did not instruct him or tell him to fire anyone. That is not what our reporting shows. She actually made the case for getting rid of multiple people, including Mike Waltz's deputy, who is still there. He has not been fired as of what we heard just a few hours ago. But for people who don't know who Laura Loomer is, she is this far-right activist. She spreads a lot of conspiracies. She once referenced that 9/11 was an inside job, and then Trump took her to the 9/11 memorial. But she obviously has a lot of influence with the president himself. She was a huge ally of his, a very vicious online defender of his during the campaign, and has clearly been still trying to seek that access now that he's more walled off because he's in the White House. But it shows, we asked who it was that cleared her into the White House, because you have to give Secret Service your social security number, your birthday, all of these things to come in. No one has yet said who it was that granted her access, but certainly some staffers have tried to wall her off from the president.
Yeah, I can bet you who was walling her off from the president, some of the staffers, is definitely some of those people who know she's a threat to maybe some things that they've been pulling in their jobs. They want to keep their jobs, and they also know that she does crazy research. So Laura Loomer responded on here on X to Caitlin Collins. Says, "You are incredibly disrespectful to me. You lie about me and my intelligence. It was President Trump who invited me to the White House to meet with him. Stop making it seem like I snuck into the White House. I was personally invited by President Trump." Now, if you know anything about politics, and if you have some experience in it, even in little events or helping out like I have, or being a little bit behind the scenes, you know that even on the Republican and Trump side, people are self-serving. Yes, there's a lot of good people in there that stand up for what's right and really want to see change happen. But there are so many self-serving people that just want to keep their job. They want to get into the White House. They want to keep themselves safe. They want access. They want to leak things to the press so they can get more money and access to different things. And I bet you it still goes on in the White House right now. And those people do not want Laura Loomer to come in with a binder of receipts about why some of these people should not have jobs in the Trump administration.
Anyway, but on this, it is important to note that Laura Loomer is driving this. She is a far-right activist. She is someone who said that if Vice President Harris won the White House during the election, that it would smell like curry. Those were comments that were denounced by Republican allies of the
Yo, curry ain't that bad, though. Curry smells good.
president, including Vance, the times that he disagreed with it. And so she is the one who's really driving this, and it speaks to the level of influence that
And
she
let's
has.
talk about the impact on national security, who they are, and why this matters so much for how the national security of the United States of America is run and who's doing it.
Well,
First of all, they were people from the Biden administration. Second of all, if they really cared about national security, we wouldn't be allowing training in the military, because we need people to defend our national security properly.
What's fascinating about this is that the three staffers that have been fired here are outside of Washington Beltway national security circles. These are pretty anonymous people. They are foreign policy minds that have serious resumes, that have worked serious jobs on Capitol Hill, in the State Department, in think tanks. You know, these are people that are well known in national security circles because they are longtime practitioners of foreign policy, experienced in making that kind of policy. These are the people that are sort of engaged in the nitty-gritty of actually designing national security policy for the president. But they're not big public figures. You know, they're people like Brian Walsh, who was who ran intelligence programs for the White House, who formerly worked for Senator Marco Rubio when he was chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. You had a senior director who worked on technology issues for the National Security Council, and you had the head of legislative affairs for the National Security Council. So again, not people that are sort of big public names that you're hearing on cable news all day long. And I think it really speaks to this kind of lesson that the president felt that he learned out of his first administration of being managed up by these faceless bureaucrats.
Yes, because even if they don't have a big job title, if they can get in the way behind the scenes to stall some progress that you want to make, can launch some investigation so that we can slow down this thing you want to implement, or I can get a bunch of people in my department to not implement the thing you want me to implement. Even though I don't have a big name, I can be a Stonewall to the policies of the Trump administration. And Laura Loomer, rightfully so, is pissed that some of these people who are from the Biden administration or people who are connected to liberal organizations are allowed to stay within the Trump administration and have an influence. And especially when on top of that you have people who just ass kiss and play political games to keep their job, and then on the outside you have someone like Laura Loomer who really takes shots at people for what's really going on, and yet she gets held back on the opportunities she has. It's understandable why she gets mad. But you know who else is mad? Another CNN anchor.
I will say I can't get over the messenger, and I can't get over the fact that Trump is okay with this messenger, David. I mean, let's just go through Laura Loomer, okay? She suggested 9/11 was an inside job. She has questioned whether school shootings are real. She posted, David, and I'm not saying you're defending what she's posted. I'm just making a point to everybody what she's done. Have you noticed there's always a school shooting in a swing state or caucus state right before an election?
Have you ever noticed that? That's not a false statement.
Talked about Kamala Harris saying if she was elected, the White House will smell like curry. Marjorie Taylor Greene denounced her. So I come back to...
Yeah, maybe because Marjorie Taylor Greene is mad the attention Laura Loomer gets, because she loves attention too, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
All of this because you can't take the dressing away from the salad, Margaret. No, that's...
So who has she been irate about Trump firing? Well, NSA director, his deputy have both been fired now because she's been pissed about the fact that they're hangovers or leftovers from the Biden administration. And if they took orders correctly within the Biden administration, you can bet behind the scenes they're going to take orders to fight the Trump administration. And this other guy who she's been irate about getting out is this guy, Ivan Kanapathy. And he has wrote an ex-spy letter dismissing the Hunter Biden laptop reports. So he was trying to fight against the Hunter Biden laptop story, which ended up supposedly influencing the 2020 election. A lot of us believe that. And he has some connections to some liberal organizations, and yet he's able to work in the Trump administration. And that's just probably some of the people Laura Loomer went after in her meeting with Trump. I'm sure she brought up a lot more. And it's really cool to see someone like her get access, especially with the way maybe some of the administration is trying to keep their own jobs, keep people like Laura Loomer out. It's pretty amazing just by having an influence on X that she got this opportunity. It's Sean Daniel here. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider liking or subscribing. I will say bye-bye from Japan, Hiroshima. Konnichiwa is hello. I don't know how to say goodbye yet. Ciao, ciao. That's Italian.